Hi, in today's video, I am going to discuss about the role of a security management role, right? So because security manager role in context to the information security part in the field of IT. Because as we all know, whenever we work for application development, when we are trying to develop any kind of application, either it can be a business application or it can be an enterprise application or it can be an cloud applications, etc. It's always important for us to manage the infrastructure for any organization, managing the infrastructure to manage their applications. Because there are a lot of business processes are involved in it. There are a lot of business activities as well as the business functionalities were involved. So managing the infrastructure is one of the key and important element for any organization now and then to perform with. So there is an immense potentiality. There is an immense requirements, especially from the context of security management is one of the key and important role nowadays most of the organizations are looking for. So for different reasons, of course, to what extent this security management role is being helpful in the organizations, I'll tell you in the last of this, in the last time of the video. So this is what generally the overall understanding. So information security management is a kind of role, or information security manager is a one kind of role, which normally focuses more on the implementing of the security strategies, etc. All that. In this regard, so an individual who wants to have a career over security side, it either can be from information security point of view, because there are different security aspects, like even we have cyber security now and then becoming more important. Cyber security is one kind of. At the same time, information security, as I stated, managing the business informations within the organization is one of the key and important element one has to be known with. In this regard, it's always important for any individual, if I want to make a career out of it, as far as my training itself is concerned, there are some focused areas, focus as well as the areas which one has to be learned with. Means if you want to have some experience in information security, if you want to get some exposure towards that to make career out of it, or to enhance our career to the next level. So these are the aspects we have to be focused. The first area is called focused areas, because when it comes to understanding, or when we are trying to understanding about information security management side, these are the focus points to be focused. The first about risk assessment, because for example, if you are developing any infrastructure, or if you are developing any kind of information in context to the business we are going to maintain for any of the application, so we should be able in a position to identify what kind of risk which is essentially involved in it. So what was the risk which is involved in context to the technical risk? So which this technical risk may leads to the complexity implementing any solution in long run. So that has to be identified under this role. This is where generally risk assessment, right? So identifying the risk, at the same time assessing the risk. What kind of risk minimization measures are we taking to reduce the risk? Calculate the risk, right? So this is all something, because risk can be of anything. Either it can be a budget level risk, it can be a technical risk, it can be an operational risk, it can be a schedule, it can be a regulatory, lot many things. But in context to the information security point of view, we focus more on the data security, at the same time information security. That kind of risk assessment is what something we need to perform. Next, one should understand about information security governance process. governance structure, governance process is one of the key and important element one has to be identified. In this regard, it's always important for us to know about the information security governance. What are the security governance process, standards, procedures one has to be followed or one for following, and how to maintain those. This is also one of the key and important element one has to be known with. Next, about incident response. For example, there was any kind of incident happened during the management of applications and all, right? So managing the informations, etc. How to identify the incidents and how the responses for incident management do we provide? Because especially when we are following agile practices now and then, we are using different tools like OpsGenie, right? So OpsGenie is one kind of tool which normally we use to will be used for incident management, right? So incident management responses is also one of the key and important element. So while you are learning information security management course, these are the focused areas one has to be known with. Means one, we need to know about risk assessment, how this can be done and how to identify, etc. Next, how the information security governance structure or framework looks like and how do we do it. At the same time, incident response, if there is any kind of incidents initiates and how we are going to address these and how are we reducing that and how and what kind of response are you going to provide. So for that, there are different tools, as I mentioned you, like OpsGenie. So different tools now and then we are using when we are working on agile practices, etc. So incident response, these are the three major focus points when we are trying to understand or learning information security management is what something you will be doing. Next, when you want to attain some kind of certification, right? So because this is not something I say that everybody requires certification, because of course having certification about CISM means Certified Information Security Manager role. So certifications will give you an edge for any people whoever is applying for job opportunities, of course, which is optional. Depends on the individual interest whether a person wants to get certified or person wants to learn and make their career out of security management is their individual choice. But end of the day, when you are trying to learn as far as information security management itself is concerned, whether you want to be a certified CISM professional or else if you want to have a general training, these are the areas which you will be covering. It's as far as the course which I am doing for a long time. So whatever I am going to cover are these are the areas, because either you may be a certified professional or you want to have a general training. So these are the areas one has to be known with. The one is about security governance. So governance structure. What is the security governance structure, policies and procedures one has to be maintained with. At the same time, security program management, because if it is project, it is relating for one. Program means multiple projects is called program. In this regard, when it comes to the knowledge areas, I can say areas nothing but knowledge areas. Security program management is also one of the key and important element one has to be known with. Next, incident management, because as in when I told you, having some incident management, security incident management I am talking about, not in regular incident management, security incident management. So at the same time, security risk management. So these are the four focused areas one has to have an experience. Of course, focus and as well as areas were somewhere interconnected. And focus must be on these four aspects, in these three aspects. At the same time, when you are having some exposure towards security management, information security management. So these are the four areas where uh, you have to undergo the training. So of course, that's what something which I'm providing, right? So security governance standards, policies and procedures, program management, security program management. At the same time, incident management, risk management, all that. So this is what something which being a information security manager, one has to learn and one has to be exposure with. Now, what must be the outcome? For example, if I am because this is a question which normally whoever wants to attain their career in this area will have a common doubt, right? So what are the roles and responsibilities being a information security manager I have to perform in any of the organization? So there are two major responsibilities we need to do, because whatever the focus and as well as the areas I have mentioned, implementing these are needed, because these are all the general things which I don't want to explain again. But major responsibility as a security manager, information security manager. So we should have an exposure or an experience. Normally, of course, when you work it, you get experience. But end of the day, if you want to have some exposure in developing a holistic security strategy, that sort of capability is what something being an individual we have to inculcate. Because any organization, if you want, people have taken you for an information security site, so security related information security or cyber security area, right? So these sort of job profiles were there in context to the information security side. So an individual, we should develop a capability of developing an holistic security strategies according to the infrastructure, according to the structure of the organization, followed by the kind of information, business information or IT information, which they are about to maintain in the organization. So that is what something being a information security manager, one of the responsibilities. So one of the responsibilities to develop a capability of developing an holistic security strategy capability is what something you need to develop. Next, in connection to that, being a information security manager, we need to create an essential assets, whatever is required. I'm talking about IT assets, right? So creating an essential IT assets to protect the information, within the organization by implementing different standards, policies, and procedures is also one of the key and important element. Being a individual, one has to be good with. So these are the two major responsibilities. Of course, there were many, but these are the two major, because the remaining responsibilities were interconnected with all these. Because whatever the focus and areas which I have mentioned here so far, these are all the activities to be performed. Right, risk assessment has to be done by us. Information security, governance standards has to be understood, and instant responses has to be managed, program, all that stuff. In connect to that, so one should able in a position to develop an holistic security strategies, which may be different from organization to organization sometimes, based on the structure, based on the size, based on the complexity of the organization, how it performs and how it exposes, how it run. Okay, how it runs, right? So this is where generally you being a information security manager, this is what something which normally we do. Followed by this, developing an essential assets, IT assets is also one of the key and important element we have to be performed. So this is what something which being information security manager, one has to be good with. This is what something which normally being into information security management in context to CISM and all, this is what something which you have to learn and which you will be doing, right? So if you have any questions, if you have any queries, so followed by any training as well as coaching needs, please reach out to the contact details, which will be posted in below to this video. Thank you.